Hello, Architecture 2. This video is about using grid lines in Revit. It is a user certification preparation video. However, I am going to go a little bit more in depth for enrichment purposes. So I need everyone to watch, even if you have already passed the Revit certification test, which I think there might be a few of you out there. But everyone's going to, do one of these and turn it in. Okay, so not the picture that you see on the screen. You're not going to draw that. But one thing I want to talk about first is what are grid lines used for? Well, grid lines are used for, so I've got some pictures still up here. Probably don't. But just like artists use grid lines to help them, you find one. Okay, they use grid lines to kind of help them draw pictures to basically create reference points on the paper. So they basically have reference points, and they also have references in association with, like, maybe distance from a line or distance from a point or somewhere within the space between the grid. So all sorts of things that they would think about as they use these grid systems. Well, the grid system in architecture would be very similar. A little bit more structure is applied to that when you're using it in architecture. And typically you're going to see it mostly used in commercial architecture, but you will see it used some in residential architecture. Okay. And just using it as an example, our most recent basement tutorial, I have set up a system of grid lines, and as you can see, one direction is numbered and then the other direction is lettered. Okay, this helps people find certain things on a set of plans. Now, you can imagine a commercial set of plans that are very large, very spacious, so there would be a lot more grids, and these would really come in handy for finding locations. So if I said, okay, I'm talking about a column at 4B. Okay, so 4B, of course, would be this intersection right here, and it would reference that particular column. But as you can see on the grid system I have, it's pretty regular grid system, and it's marking things like the centers of the walls, the center of the structure itself, right down through where all the columns are. And again, down here on this side, the 1 through 5 is marking the same thing, centers of the walls and the columns. Okay, so that's what grid lines are used for. Now, how do you use grid lines? Well, you can put these grid lines down at any point in your project that you want to. A lot of commercial designers will start out with a set of grid lines. Now, not saying that their mind is completely blank as to what they're going to do in their design. I mean, they've already sketched a lot of stuff out on paper. They may even have sketched some things out in the computer. So they have a good idea of what's going on when they actually place their grid lines. So here's what I want everybody to do is start a new project. Make sure it is an imperial architectural template. Okay, go back and name it. I want you to name it right now. Okay, you're going to put your first name. Okay, so I'm going to put my first name. Okay, and then I'm going to put an underscore, and I'm going to call it grid lines. All right, so that way I know this is mine, and you'll know that yours is yours, and I'll know that yours is yours. Okay, so we got file named grid lines. So placing grid lines, I might do something such as, if I'm building like a commercial building, I've got, steel framing members that are going to be erected to, hold up my walls and hold up my roofs and stuff like that. And now there's typically a certain distance, depending on the size and type of steel columns that you're using, a particular distance that's already been decided that they're going to be apart. So I might set my grids up like that. So I might start with a 1, and I could just do this, knowing that I'm going to need 5 grids. So let's go ahead and just draw 5 grids out. And just randomly draw them out like so. Okay. Now I need those grids to be a particular distance apart. So what I'm going to do, the grid line that I want to move, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to adjust the distance. Let's say these are going to be 20 feet apart. So I click on the grid line that I want to move, and then I change the number within it. And this might cause me to do something else. Like before I do that, spread these out a little bit more. Okay, and click on this one again. We want that to be 20 feet. Click on this one, 20 feet, and click on this one, 20 feet. Okay, so there's my 1 through 5. These are going vertically. Of course, they're laid out horizontally, but they're actually counted vertically. All right, so now I want my next set of grid lines, the ones that are going to go in the opposite direction and intersect these grid lines. So I simply just draw a grid line. Okay, now these I want to be lettered. Okay, so what I could do as I'm doing this is go ahead and change this one to an A. Okay, now every grid that I enter after this one should follow alphabetically. And of course, always make sure your grids are straight. Always make sure they are aligned. Okay, maybe there's just 4 of those. And that's also say that maybe they have a distance of, well, let's just say 23 foot 6 inches, just like this one is. And then we'll click on the other ones and make sure they are 23 foot 6 inches. 23 foot 6 inches. Okay. So that's how you place them. That's also how you adjust the distance between them. The certification test will have a question where they will have you adjust the distance between them. They may even have you place a new one. They may have you do something like this, and this happens all the time. Okay, so I need another grid line in here. Let's say I only need it 15 feet from A. Okay, so I click on it, go right here, 15 feet, put it right there. Okay, so in that case, you know that's where it would reside. Now you might, instead of calling it E, you might call it something like, let's see, A.1. Just, you know, however your company or however you deem it necessary to actually name that. All right. So that again is how grids work. Later on, we'll probably do some drawing with grid lines and making buildings and stuff based on those grid lines. Okay. Well, that's it for grid lines. Just, you know, stay tuned for another video on the next one. Tagging components by category. So I'm going to do that one real quick, and then you'll have that one as well.